Falcon Shocks are built to be dependable, high-quality shocks that will last for years. While they are durable and able to withstand immense amounts of abuse on and off the trail, they still require care and occasional maintenance. Probably the most important thing you can do to keep your Falcon Shocks in good working order is to clean them regularly. To be specific, power wash them, especially after going off-road. It seems almost silly to say wash your shocks, but leaks and other malfunctions can usually be prevented by regular cleaning. Over time, a very small amount of oil will seep from the seals and create a tacky film that makes dirt and such stick to the shock. If you see that oil has seeped out in this way, don't be too alarmed. This is completely normal and an essential part of the operation and longevity of the shock. This small amount of oil should never be considered a leak, but should be cleaned periodically to maintain the appearance of the shock. Here is a good example of a shock where the excess oil was never cleaned off. The shock's owner thought it was leaking, so they sent it in for repairs. This shock is in perfect working order, other than having never been cleaned. Leaking shocks usually come about because of torn or damaged seals around the body, or on the shaft seal, where the shaft enters the body. While leaking seals are covered by the Falcon warranty, the warranty does not apply to damage done to the shock, or the shaft, or dried paint on the shaft. If you need to paint near your shocks for whatever reason, cover the shocks or remove them prior to painting. Even just a little dried paint on the shaft can tear the seal over time. Brand new shocks will sometimes have oil left over from the shock's assembly. Unless there is an obvious leak, you can safely install brand new shocks that have a little oil in the packaging. A clear sign that there is a leak would be oil dripping from the shock or a pool of oil under the vehicle. Leaks are usually very obvious. This is a time-lapse example of a leaking shock. As you can see, the oil pools up and then drips onto the towel. It dripped 3 times in about 15 hours. Falcon shocks are repairable and rebuildable, so if your shock is leaking, don't hesitate to contact Falcon customer service. We can help answer any questions you may have. Truck shocks with a grease zerk on the front shock's lower body cap have a bearing that must be greased regularly. Ideally, at and in between every oil change, so about every 2,500 to 3,500 miles for normal use trucks. Greasing the bearings is a very simple process, and for the most part it can be done with the wheels on the ground. Turn the wheel to access the zerk fitting. Clean off the dirt and grime around the zerk as much as possible, and clean up the bearing seals if you need to. Fill the bearing with grease until the seals begin to swell. Go slow and check both sides of the bearing after every pump. If grease shoots out the center of the seal, you put too much grease in, but that's alright, just clean it up and it'll be fine. If it blows out the side of the seal, then the seal will need to be pushed back in before normal driving can resume. Ideally, you want to avoid this. If you tear the seal, contact Falcon customer service for information about replacement seals. Here is the process again on the table. It is by no means necessary to remove the shock, but we just want to make things easier to see. Stop filling immediately once the seal begins to swell. Whether you realize it or not, Falcon shocks are always working to make sure you have a comfortable and stable ride. Do your part and take care of them so that your Falcon performance shocks will continue to be dependable, high-quality shocks for many years to come.